Signore e signori, buonasera. Welcome to Casa Italiana, zerilli-marimò, for this third edition of this spin-off of the Lunigiana Music Festival here in New York. The previous editions, just to remind you, were dedicated one to Puccini and one to Fano. If you're interested in that, you can look up on our website, and we have video recordings of the events, and they're always a mix of words and music. Either narratives, like tonight you're going to hear a narrative of the life of Wolf-Ferrari, and music, because they were composers. So if you're interested in that, go check out our previous activities. It's also a pleasure to collaborate with the Lunigiana International Music Festival, because we have a chance to bring back to NYU, where she studied, Chantal Balestri, who is the co-founder of the Lunigiana Music Festival and music director, artistic director. So we thank her for always keeping a little piece of her heart for NYU and for the Casa, and to give us a chance to explore and to understand these composers. And tonight in particular, it's a very interesting case of a composer that enjoyed a great degree of popularity in his lifetime, and then he almost disappeared from the scene. And this is a great chance to bring him back to a live audience and to make his music known and appreciated also on this side of the ocean. And without further ado, I'm asking you to, in 1 second, to welcome the artists, the musicians, and Chantal. And I just want to remind you that at the end, you're not going to go out in the cold hungry, but we are going to provide hot pizza for you to eat before you go out in the cold. Enjoy the concert and enjoy the refreshment after. And please welcome Chantal Balestri.
Thank you. Thank you so much for this very warm welcome. As Albertini said, with whom I'm very thankful, all the staff, of course, who are all amazing here. This is the third year we come here, and we are really, really happy. We started this format with Puccini 2 years ago, and we love that, and we wanted to keep that. For us, it's very, very important, because we are an Italian festival, which happens every summer in July for 10 days in Italy. And this is a way to bring our own festival here in the United States, with whom we have a very, very important connection. First of all, from myself, as we said, I'm an NYU alumni, and I lived here. So, and many of our professors and alumni of the festival are from New York. So it's a good way to have artists from New York, along with some artists that are coming for this event, and for them it's also the first time. For example, tonight you will listen to soprano Federica Venturi, who won the New York Prize, and she is here because of that. So it's a very nice moment to share and to stay together, and we are from different places, a very amazing musician, you will listen to them. And we are going to share about composers who needs to be heard, listened more. And we are very, very happy to celebrate Ermanno Wolf-Ferrari, who is really representative of what I just said, because he was for Italian and as well German, so back in a time in which it was not common, to have a dual citizenship. So it's this community of two important traditions that comes together, and you will listen to them during the music. Anyway, I don't want to talk too much, because we will have an amazing narration by Federica Zagatti Wolf-Ferrari, a descendant of Ermanno Wolf-Ferrari, that I thank with all my heart for being here tonight, that will do the narrations we said, and you will listen in between all the amazing music by the artists, but by the way, all of them were in Lunigiana with us already in the past. So enjoy the evening, enjoy the music, Ermanno Wolf-Ferrari. Thank you all.
You have just listened to a very early composition by Ermanno Wolf-Ferrari, composed when he was a student. The quartet was his second-year conservatory examination piece. It makes us realize how great his talent must have been, given that he had just begun his formal studies. But the story I would like to tell you begins much before, on this page of my family album. He was born to a German father, August Wolf, and a Venetian mother, Emilia Ferrari, portrayed here by August himself. He was a copyist painter and was sent to Italy to reproduce large-scale paintings by the Renaissance masters: Tiziano, Giorgione, Bellini, Raffaello, and many others. During his stay in Venice, he often passed under a window where a beautiful young lady would appear. He fell in love with her and they married. In this document, we read that in 1876, August went to the town hall to register that on January the 12th, a male child was born, to whom he gave the name Ermanno Federico. And here he is, a baby born from a perfect harmony of two opposite souls, German and Venetian, which shaped his entire life. Ermanno grew up in Venice with 4 brothers. 3 of them became musicians, including my great-grandfather, Cesare, who was a harpist, and one, Teodoro, became a painter. Teodoro Wolf-Ferrari is in fact still a prominent artist of his time, and there are many exhibitions of his work in Italy. Ermanno showed early precocity in everything and a natural inclination toward music. At 11 years old, he could play Bach at first sight. But even earlier, by the age of 6, after just a few private music lessons, he already felt the impulse to compose. It's funny to know that he invented an ingenious trick. He dipped his fingers in ink to mark his musical ideas directly onto the piano keys before transcribing them to paper. Also, at age 6, he wrote this letter to his mother from Florence, discussing in the most natural way about world-renowned masterpieces by Italian artists, works he was busy with at the Uffizi Gallery, as his father used to take him along when he went to copy paintings. The child was completely immersed in the world of art. Ermanno was a sensitive child, as shown by this beautiful letter written to his parents at age 7 as a New Year's present. He wrote, "Dearest parents, may you be as happy as you deserve. On my part, I promise to honor all the care you take for my education, and I trust that my teachers' efforts shall not be in vain. I shall be good and attentive, and you will have the greatest consolation in the world." He was 7 years old. This sensitivity stayed with him all his life. Everyone who wrote about him portrayed a kind, generous, and sensitive man with a profound and philosophical mind, always seeking harmony in mankind and in music. As a teenager, his father used to take him to the theater in Venice, and after seeing The Barber of Seville by Rossini, he fell in love with Italian opera. At 13, his father took him to Bayreuth to see all Wagner's opera, which overwhelmed his young mind. From morning to night, the young Ermanno sat at the piano playing Wagner. Along with music, Ermanno also showed a talent for drawing. And even though his father continued to support his passion for music, he was convinced that painting was a safer career for his son. That's why he enrolled him in the art academy, first in Rome at the age of 15, and 1 year later in Munich. During these years, Ermanno was torn between the academic study of painting and his private dedication to music. The turning point came on one specific day, while he was playing Bach. He burst into tears, and in that moment he understood his destiny was not in painting, it was in music. A total crisis followed. He locked himself in his room for a month, isolated himself from everyone, and composed music. Finally, he decided, music it will be. So he began his studies in counterpoint under Josef Rheinberger at the conservatory in Munich. From here, the story of the composer truly begins, a journey shaped by his early background in the fine arts, which I'm certain left an imprint on his ideal of beauty, making him a complete and extremely sensitive artist. Let's continue now to immerse ourselves in Wolf-Ferrari's music. Two more early compositions, Quattro Rispetti, songs based on Tuscan folk poetry, which reflects his passion for vocal works and Italian popular culture, followed by an impromptus for piano solo. Thank you.
Tanto volgo gli occhi tuoi, sospiro prima e sospiro fra un anno, e gli occhi tuoi sospirar mi fanno.
At 19, Ermanno returned to Venice. Being back in contact with the Italian language immediately inspired him to compose music for the stage. In 1900, he brought his first opera to the stage of Teatro La Fenice in Venice. Cenerentola, Cinderella. Everything went wrong that night. It was carnival. The audience was in a party mood, and they spent the time laughing and whistling, a total disaster. At 24 years old, it was too much. The disappointment was too much to bear. Betrayed by his city, he fled to Munich, where the same opera became an instant success. Ironically, this international fame woke up the Venetian pride. In 1903, at only 20 years old, Ermanno was named director of the Venice Conservatory in Venice. By reputation, and for life. However, after 6 years, he resigned. To compose, he needed to be free from bureaucratic duties. But during these years, something important happened. In Venice, he discovered his love for Carlo Goldoni, the great Venetian playwright. He realized that Goldoni's words were perfect to be set to music to celebrate his beloved Venice and the gentle but vivid spirit of the lagoon. He composed 5 operas based on Goldonian comedies, where the action takes place in a fascinating 18th century Venice. Le donne curiose, the inquisitive women, I quattro rusteghi, the school for fathers, gli amanti sposi, the married lovers, la vedova scaltra, the clever widow, il campiello, the little square. In his music, we Venetians can recognize the exact cadence and prosody of our dialect that he was able to recreate through the pitch of the notes. He also recreated the atmospheres of Venice, the city at dawn, the chatter in the squares, the tolling bells, and the silent water. The real spirit of the lagoon transformed into music. Since Italy still didn't seem to notice him, Ermanno often debuted his operas in Germany, a country which really loved his music and to which he belonged, no less than Italy. But he always had to translate his works into German first. It was here in America that for the first time he could hear them in Italian and Venetian, the languages in which they were conceived and written. For instance, the debut of the Italian version of the Le Donne Curiose, the Inquisitive Women, took place right here in New York at the Met in 1912. Imagine what a night that must have been. Toscanini on the podium and Ermanno in the audience.
Reverenza che con permesso serva so il statuto desmo il statuto desmo il statuto desmo il statuto desmo complimente e complimente e complimente serva so bruto muso.
There's one important detail I haven't mentioned yet. His last name. He was born Wolf, but he chose to add his mother's name, Ferrari. The name Wolf-Ferrari represents the harmonious union of two identities coexisting within him. This duality is deeply rooted in his music as well. He is German in his mastery of counterpoint and orchestration, and Italian in his natural gift for melody and grace. His love for the Italian language and culture was so deep that his greatest passion was Dante Alighieri. That's why he composed La Vita Nuova, The New Life, a majestic vocal work based on Dante's words for orchestra, double mixed choirs, children's choir, soloist, and narrator. Following a triumph in Munich in 1903, it spread through Europe and America. The performance at the Met in January 1912, for the first time in Italian and conducted by Ermanno himself, was much applauded, according to the New York Times report on the following day. The article also says that La Vita Nuova had been sung in English years ago by the Oratorio Society at Carnegie Hall, and it made a deep impression. Another hearing of it confirmed the opinion of its beauty. It is a remarkable production for a young composer, full of new effects of orchestral color. Despite the big orchestration, we are able to include La Vita Nuova in our program tonight, thanks to the Dance of the Angel, La Danza degli Angeli. In this piano solo, like a moment of suspension, the melody almost disappears. I think Ermanno wanted the words just heard by Dante to stay in the mind. In the original score, the piano dialogues with 2 harps, strings, and 7 timpani. Tonight, we accompany it with Dante's declaration of love for Beatrice in the style of the Dolce Stil Novo. There are two other operas that gained great success in America. The Secret of Suzanne is what Ermanno called his miniature opera. One act, two singers, a mime, a big orchestra. The plot is funny. A young couple, Jill and Suzanne. Jill is consumed by jealousy because he smells tobacco in the house and suspects a secret lover. He tries everything to catch the intruder, only to find that the smoker is actually Suzanne herself. Beyond the comedy, this opera is deeply symbolic. That cigarette is a sign of women's emancipation. At the beginning of the 20th century, smoking meant freedom. After its acclaim in Germany as Susannes Geheimnis, 1909, Toscanini brought it here to the Met in 1911. Chronologically, this American triumph was the spark for Wolf-Ferrari's international fame, first in the United States and finally in Italy. In the same year, Ermanno also brought to the stage his three-act opera I gioielli della Madonna, The Jewels of the Madonna, set in Naples and based on a real-life news story. It was given in Berlin, in German, as Der Schmuck der Madonna. 1 year later, it was performed in its original Italian language here in America, first in Chicago and then in New York at the Met. At home, I found a peculiar article in La Tribuna Italiana, which I assume was an American newspaper for Italian readers. It tells the story of Ermanno's uncle, August's brother living in Chicago, who was so bewitched by this opera that he refused to miss a single rehearsal. But the city was frozen that year. He braved the extreme cold to the point that he fell ill and died. There is a tragic irony in this story. This uncle had made his fortune in Chicago by founding an ice-making factory. But it was the Chicago freeze that eventually defeated him. I also found a condolence letter to August saying, "It will be a comfort to hear of your son's triumphs in America, and your poor brother at least was able to enjoy them." That American production must have been truly magnificent. But now let's return to Suzanne. On the New York Times, March 1911, we read, "Wolf-Ferrari's music is charmingly melodious and flows spontaneously. The Song of Suzanne is a conspicuous example of it." We are about to hear that aria, the moment when Suzanne, alone, after so many quarrels with her suspicious husband, finally abandons herself to the pleasure of her scented vice. Oh joy, the light cloud, to follow with half-closed eyes, rising in blue spirals. It rises lighter than a veil and seems like a golden chimera fading in the clear sky. Gentle vapor, it touches me, it lulls me, and makes me dream. There will be much more to say about Ermanno Wolf-Ferrari if time permitted. For instance, how he suffered through 2 world wars as a man of peace and harmony. His struggle, amplified by his dual identity, half Italian and half German, led him into deep depression and exile. When the nightmare finally ended, he returned to the only place he ever truly considered home, Venice. Surrounded by my family's affection and his beloved lagoon, he finally found the peace to work on his last project, Le Chiese di Venezia, the Churches of Venice. Sadly, it remained unfinished. On the morning of January 21st, 1948, Ermanno passed away from a heart attack. The manuscript vanished from his piano, and for more than 75 years, my family never knew who had taken it or where it had gone. Recently, thanks to the research of Giulia Zoppelli, a Venetian PhD student, it was discovered at Yale University in America. Giulia published the section dedicated to the Basilica dei Frari, the only movement Ermanno had the time to complete. For me, this is where the circle closes. The Frari Church was one of the places where Ermanno's father, August, was sent to copy paintings, commission that allowed him to meet Emilia and fall in love with her. It is the place where this whole story began. But the most shocking discovery Giulia made upon finding the score is its ending. Ermanno wrote an eternal silence, adding the notation perdendosi, which means fading away into nothing. So the last music he wrote just before dying was a long silence, like a breath, a last breath disappearing into the soul of Venice. The music was over. On the day of his funeral, there was a profound silence too. The whole city stopped to say a final goodbye to the man who had made it immortal through music. A silent river of people followed the coffin through Venice, all the way to the island of San Michele, the Venetian cemetery. The silence was broken only by a soprano voice, singing the finale of Il Campiello. It is a moving farewell to Venice, sung by the protagonist, Gasparina, as she leaves her city forever. When I think about it, it's hard not to feel that he had unknowingly written his own perfect farewell. It was as if those words had been waiting all along just for him. Cara la mia Venezia, my Venice, so dear to me. Me despiacerà certo de lasciarla. It is so hard for me to leave you. Ma prima de partir, voy saludarla. But before I go, I want to say goodbye. Buondì, Venezia cara. Buondì, Venezia mia. Goodbye, dear Venice. Goodbye, my Venice. Besides the operas I've mentioned, there are many others covering 30 years, inspired by philosophical themes, mythology, or literary classic. Among these, the ones performed here in America were Sly, based on Shakespeare, L'amore medico, Dr. Cupid, based on Molière. Even La Dama Boba, based on Lope de Vega, was mentioned in the New York Times, despite being performed in Italy. Such was the affection America felt for Wolf-Ferrari. Apart from operas, he also left a vast collection of instrumental works for symphony and chamber orchestra, as well as vocal and choral composition. I will mention just two of them. One is the piano quintet, which will be performed as the final piece tonight, is also an early work. In it, Ermanno's cultural duality clearly appears, Italian grace combined with German introspection. The other one is the violino concerto written for the American child prodigy Guila Bustabo, who performed with the New York Philharmonic starting at the age of 10. The concerto traveled the world and had its American premiere at Carnegie Hall in 1944. In an old suitcase at home, I discovered affectionate letters from Gila to Ermanno, which reveal a deep artistic and spiritual connection between them. What I don't have, however, are Ermanno's replies. I have searched for them, but I have found no trace. I believe his letters to Gila are here in America. And like this, there is so much more I have yet to find. So my being here tonight might be the first step in continuing my search in the right place. Thank you.
This works? Yes, I'm going to move here. I wanted just to say thank you again. I want to welcome here back Federica Zagatti Wolf-Ferrari. Please come. Thank you so much. Yes. You're amazing. We are so happy that we got to know more about.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, him.
No, I want to thank you all for being here. Chantal for inviting me, Casa Italiana for inviting me. It's my first time in New York, my first time in America. A very nice experience. I just was thinking here that New York has been so welcoming and generous to with Ermanno, and I can say it's the same thing 100 years later for me. The same impression. You are really nice people. Thank you.
Thanks to you. And I want to thank also again everyone who make this happen. Thank you so much. And our musicians. So they are inside. I don't know if they all can come here. I have a lot of stuff. Usually we don't have so many things. Spostiamo magari. You can bow if you want. So, like always, it was already said at the beginning, but now we're going to have some pizza and good wine. So we see each other soon. If you have questions or anything, we are here, and you can meet with us. So thank you so much again for coming here, even with this weather and cold. Thanks so much.